Imagine for a moment that everything you thought you knew about Israel might not be the full story. You open a map, locate modern-day Israel, and feel a sense of connection, especially if you're familiar with the Bible. For many Christians, this small Middle Eastern nation founded in 1948 seems to be a direct fulfillment of God's ancient promises, a continuation of the Israel that Abraham once walked upon. But what if I told you that this perception might only be part of the truth? Hold on, don't click away just yet. The story we're about to dive into will challenge everything you think you know about Israel. We'll unravel layers of history, politics, and scripture, exploring questions that could reshape your entire perspective. Stay with me until the end, and don't forget to like and share this message with others. For centuries, Christians have looked to Israel as a focal point of biblical prophecy. Many see the modern state as the fulfillment of God's covenant with Abraham, feeling a duty to support it at all costs. But there's a critical distinction that often goes unnoticed. The modern state of Israel and the Israel of the Bible may not be as intertwined as you think. To understand this, let's rewind to the very beginning. In Genesis 15:18-21, God made a profound promise to Abraham, a promise that spanned not only the land of modern Israel, but also parts of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. This vast territory, known as Canaan, was not just a gift of real estate, it was a symbol of a deeper covenant. It was meant to be a land where God's chosen people lived in obedience to His will, a place that reflected their spiritual alignment with God. Now, fast forward to 1948, when the modern state of Israel was founded. This wasn't a miraculous event sprung from the heavens. It was the result of complex political agreements, the Zionist movement, and the aftermath of World War II. Many Jews returned to the land, seeing it as the fulfillment of prophecy. But others argue that this new Israel is a secular nation, far removed from the biblical Israel that God envisioned. What does this mean for us today? Are we witnessing the continuation of the divine covenant, or is this a political creation masquerading as spiritual destiny? Let's explore this further. When we read about God's promise to Abraham, it becomes clear that the land was always tied to a covenant, a relationship between God and His people, one that demanded obedience. It wasn't just about borders or political boundaries, it was about the heart. So while today's Israel occupies some of that same land, the question remains, are its people living in accordance with the covenant that once defined biblical Israel? The answer is complicated. The Israel of the Bible was intended to be a theocratic nation, ruled by God's laws. Modern Israel, on the other hand, is largely secular. Its leaders are often driven by political agendas, national security, and the survival of the state in a volatile region. Zionism, the political movement that pushed for the establishment of Israel, was rooted more in nationalistic ideals than spiritual obedience. Theodor Herzl, the father of modern Zionism, even envisioned a secular Jewish state where Jews could escape persecution and live freely, far from the biblical mandate of a nation bound by God's covenant. So, here's where it gets tricky. Should Christians support modern Israel unconditionally? Many base their unwavering support on verses like Genesis 12, verse 3, where God tells Abraham, "I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse." This verse is often used to justify blind allegiance to the modern state of Israel, but does that align with God's will? We must ask ourselves, is it right to support everything modern Israel does, even if some actions conflict with biblical principles? For example, the ongoing conflict with Palestine raises difficult questions about justice, human rights, and land occupation. As Christians, our allegiance should first and foremost be to the teachings of Christ, teachings that call for justice, peace, and righteousness. Jesus Himself said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Matthew 5:9. In light of this, can we truly say that supporting every political move made by Israel is in line with God's heart for justice? Should we not also pray for peace in the region and for all people, Jewish, Palestinian, and otherwise, who are caught in the cycle of conflict? This brings us to another crucial point, the spiritual identity of Israel. When God changed Jacob's name to Israel in Genesis chapter 32, verse 28, after Jacob wrestled with an angel, the name was symbolic of more than just a nation. So, when we talk about Israel today, are we talking about a political state, or are we talking about the covenant people of God? Biblically speaking, Israel was more than just a piece of land. Today, modern Israel may have the land, but the deeper question remains, are they walking in covenant with God as their ancestors once did? It's also essential to understand the roots of Zionism. Emerging in the late 19th century, Zionism wasn't initially a religious movement. This raises a fundamental question for Christians. Are we supporting a political Israel or a biblical one? As we continue to explore the implications of this, let's consider the role of prophecy. Many Christians believe that the current events in Israel are a fulfillment of end times prophecies, pointing to passages in Ezekiel 38 to 39 and Revelation. But Jesus himself warned us not to be alarmed by wars and rumors of wars, reminding us that such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Matthew 24:6. The modern state of Israel, while significant in world events and in prophecy, is not necessarily the same as the biblical Israel that God called into covenant. As Christians, our allegiance should always be to Christ and his teachings. We must support truth, justice, and peace, not political agendas. While Israel has a role in biblical prophecy, it's important that we approach this with discernment, seeking God's will above all else. Thank you for staying with me through this exploration of modern Israel and its spiritual significance. If you found this message insightful, please like and share it with others. This is a conversation that needs to be heard. Let's spread the truth and seek God's wisdom together.